You know, these are guys of our cousin. I'm helping the culture. I'm pushing the culture forward in another way.
Hey, Black Child, be what you can be, learn what you must learn, do what you can do, and tomorrow.
What do you do after you read? What do you do after you know all, right? And you can say that you're truly conscious. How are you putting what you know into action?
This is the Initiative Radio Show, shifting the paradigm through conversation on any and everything relating to our communities and culture. Now introducing your new girl, Jasmine.
Of course. You guys weren't supposed to hear that last part. You weren't supposed to hear the last part. But it's okay. It's not the Initiative Radio Show.
Coming in right there.
For you.
Oh.
No, that was definitely for you. All right. So what's up?
Oh, I'm chilling.
Who are you?
I am Brandon Mims. Who are you?
I'm Jasmine Capes.
And we are
the new Black History Makers.
Yes, for those of you who saw the promos, it is.
It's new Black History Makers for the sake of the show.
Right,
No,
you were wrong.
For the sake of the show. Yeah. So you're just Brandon Mims? Do you do cool things?
I'm just Brandon Mims.
Okay.
For those of you who follow politics, I am also the city treasurer of the city of Compton.
Wow.
Yeah, so that makes me so happy every day. You know,
I can hear it.
To serve the residents of Compton.
Yes.
But you know, nothing as exciting as being an entrepreneur.
Who is an entrepreneur?
I don't know. I don't actually know it, but you know, that is an exciting line of work. You know?
Being an entrepreneur?
Being an entrepreneur, like developing, bringing ideas out, creating things. Do you know anything about that?
Maybe a little bit. So new Black History Makers?
Black History
That's
Makers.
my thing.
That's your thing.
That's my thing.
Of the show.
Yeah, it's the name of the show. It's the name of the brand, the movement, the clothing, all of that. So yeah, that's what I do. That's it though. Yeah, just the founder of New Black History Makers.
Okay, well, let's talk about this radio show. So, I'm excited about the radio show.
Okay,
this is our very first live broadcast.
Yes.
So I think that I don't know where our applause thing is.
Oh, there it is.
Definitely think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
In honor of it being our live show, I do have a couple of questions for you that I think may help folks get to know you.
Okay.
But did you just want me to just list them off? You don't.
We have questions for each other.
Oh,
because I want people to get to know the treasurer.
Would you like to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. What is your middle name?
Wow, it's Renee.
It's Renee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a typical? That's like top 3.
Favorite color?
Purple.
Purple.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
My favorite food. Typical. I love watermelon.
Okay.
I wish you guys can see Brandon's face if you go to YouTube. So we're also live on YouTube if you want to see our responses.
No watermelon.
You don't like watermelon?
I do like watermelon. Do you also have it with fried chicken?
No. I don't really eat meat anymore.
Is fried chicken?
It's what?
Meat? Well, because there was a time
Black people are the only ones who don't consider meat to be meat.
If you are
it's like only beef.
If you're vegetarian and you're Black, you can get away with eat a chicken.
I've never heard of that before.
It's pesca.
Pescatarian is still not allowing chicken.
Politarian. It's a combination. So what are your questions?
Okay, my questions were a little like more. I want to, learn more about who you are.
You don't have to be critical though of my line of questioning.
Okay.
Just come on with yours. Whatever.
Okay, so my question was, I'm just gonna ask it.
Just ask it.
So did you have plans to run for mayor?
Wow. On the first show, you want to ask me that?
Well, I thought we were asking like character revealing questions.
So, to put some context to this, I assume you're talking about mayor of the city I live in, right? City of Compton.
Or shoot, mayor anywhere. Let's go big.
Mayor anywhere.
Anywhere.
Of anywhere USA.
I think we need you in Compton though.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to serve the residents as the city treasurer.
Okay.
Make sure that we have as much transparency as possible. And then, in 3 years, if it looks like I should run for mayor, perhaps I will.
Okay.
We did really well in this last election.
Amazing.
We got lots of votes.
Yeah.
So
more votes than anybody. More than the mayor.
More votes than the mayor. So yeah. But yeah, so that's the answer to that.
And you are more qualified than.
So what's your next question?
Anybody running for mayor?
There's no one running.
That was running.
Well,
I will die on that hill.
Okay.
Anyways.
Because
Because what?
I mean, we want to keep the show going for a few weeks
before we just start
all
calling people out. Okay, so then let's go back down. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Okay.
But it's really like lapis blue.
What is that?
Lapis blue is like dark blue, kind of. You see it in like plates, like when you have gold.
Like navy.
Like navy.
Where did you get that word from?
Lapis is a color. It's a type of blue. It's LAPIS. It's a type of.
Okay.
What's your next question?
Dude, is that in the 64 box? The 64 count crayon box?
Okay.
Or is it the 100?
But I did have that as a child.
I'm sure you did. If you're saying lapis, you had to have the 64 count box in up. You didn't have the regular one.
I had the one that had the sharpener, which
exactly.
You were the time
okay.
That was high tech because you sharpened and the stuff went into the crayon box.
Right.
Yeah. It went into the crayon box.
Right.
So
they were ahead of their time with it.
It was like self-contained. It was like new age.
Right. It was like
paper straws.
Right.
It's a thing. Okay.
Right. Okay. So I have another like kind of deep question because I thought that's where we were going. But so if you could go back and give your mother advice on how to raise you, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to hug me more.
Okay.
Because, little boys need that.
Yeah.
And then second, I would say, that is a good question.
Is it?
Because I know that, I know I wasn't hugged enough out the gate. But
right.
I don't know what else was wrong with me. Probably, to make sure that I had busy, like I was always busy in something. Because I did spend some time as a child just kind of being aimless, which, maybe I could have been president by now if I had more to do.
But you're also treasurer, so you're not that far. There's people who are trying to be president that are working at Ross.
Treasurer and president?
Trying to be president that are working at Ross.
Treasurer and president.
But you're in the field. There's so much in between. No shade to anybody working at Ross or anywhere, right? But it just looks a little more promising for Brandon as a treasurer.
Yeah, I could have made it out of Ross to the White House, and that's the good thing about my mindset is I'm very determined. So
that's good.
I think people probably have had enough of learning about us.
Do you think so? Well, I feel like you have more questions. What is another question?
Another question?
Yeah.
So is this your first time doing radio?
No, it's not.
Tell us about when you've done radio before.
So literally in this same seat, in the same building, right? Yeah.
It's like your return.
This is the return. This is the return. Yeah. So it was the Initiative Radio Show. Now it's New Black History Makers. It was not exactly 2 years, but almost. Here at the Good News when it first started. So yeah, was here back then. What is it? The new saying? Back then they didn't want me, now they all own me or whatever.
The stock is up. Is that what it is?
It's up and it's stuck. The stock is up. It's only big things now. Big Gates, big New Black History Makers. That's what we're on. But yeah, so I did podcasting as well. But yeah, like radio and being on the mic since 2017. Also, the Hub Radio. Shout out to them.
The Hub Radio. Yeah, that was
So,
very
yeah.
important during the campaign.
Yeah. So shout out to them. But yeah, I think I got my start with both of them around the same time here and with the Hub Radio. So doing shows there, Queen's Table Talk, then live with Dre, being like a character on there, or what do you call it? A personality. Yeah. And then it also got me into audio engineering, right? So now I'm not only this personality on air, but I can also run your boards. Okay. Yeah.
So you will be running the board for the show.
Yeah.
So folks,
there it is.
All the sound effects you hear
are from yours truly. You're right.
Yeah, they're even though I know you thought that, I was making no sounds in the background.
The applause?
All of it.
Okay.
Just multiple hands clapping.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, I know that we've promised to deliver on this show, some exciting topics.
Yes, some very exciting topics. And then we have one today for sure.
One today.
Yeah.
I just want to remind folks that we will be on every Friday.
Every single Friday.
At 3:30.
Yeah.
And so all week we're going to be thinking about exciting things to come and talk to you about.
Yeah.
But, do expect to hear us every Friday at 3:30.
Right.
Our topic for today, I don't know if you want to get into it now, or if you want to pay some bills first, but
no, I mean, I think we should, because I think it's gonna be I don't know the word, but it's gonna be one of those, so it's essentially, is slavery crippling, teaching slavery crippling our youth?
Right. And
that's the topic. And Brandon brings in the critical race theory, which is also something we'll talk about as well. But that's the topic. So I want you to give your opinion first.
Okay, so
I'm going to put us on Instagram Live.
I think, and then, this is the controversial part about this, but I think we could be maybe handicapping our children's experience by focusing so much on teaching a version of slavery that it identifies you as an oppressed person. Right. I know it's important to be in the reality of our experience, but I'm just not sure that things like critical race theory being taught in the class and quote teaching slavery are the most effective ways to prepare particularly Black youth, for what's out there in the real world. I mean, because once you know that slavery existed, you still have to deal with your life today. You still got to get a job.
Right.
You still got to pay your bills.
Right.
You still have to do the practical things.
Right.
You live in a capitalistic America where, it's about how much money you make, not how contemplative you are.
Right.
Right. So I think that these stories can be compelling, but I just don't know how they prepare us for right now.
Okay. Can you put this in there?
Yeah.
So my thoughts were, I was actually shocked when Brandon brought this to me the other day, or yesterday, I should say. And my thought was that it's not crippling because it is a part of history, essentially. So you have to teach that part. Now, should we teach it from the point of this was once who you are and this is who you are? No, but we should teach it from a standpoint of this is what happened and this is the history. The same way we learn about American history, or the same way we learn about the presidents, right? Those kids, or those white kids, are not leaving thinking, oh, well, I'm a president. You're teaching it that this was someone who may look like you, but is not you. And then there's also the perseverance part, right? Well, what Black people have been able to accomplish up until this point, right? Even us three sitting in here, us being in a studio that's owned by a Black man, right? Like, those stories need to be told, but I don't think we often say, or we often remind these children of what Black people are capable of. We often stop at slavery and then we don't go and teach the rest, or we don't teach slavery in its totality. And then also working in schools and stuff, seeing kids, and I dealt with a lot of middle school worked with a lot of middle school students, and they were not properly educated on what slavery was. To the point of kind of like wanting to be distant from that history. So it was like, oh, we're not them. And it's like, well, you're not a slave, but you come from that. And there should be some sense of pride as it relates to that.
Okay, so for the listeners out there, because definitely this is a controversial topic, and there are going to be lots of opinions, and I think one of the things about this is, as it relates to critical race theory, at least, is important for folks to understand even what we're talking about, right? You know, in a real sense. And I think it is important for folks to understand that when teaching this, it is about, specifically in a classroom, taking issues and looking at them through the lens of racism and law.
Okay.
You know, so when we talk about the SAT, or when we talk about, you know, the instance of Black men in jail, you take it and you flip it and you look through it and you say, okay, well, you know, how have laws that are racist, or how have systems that are racist contributed to this issue? And then from that perspective, you know, a more sensitive approach to understanding why perhaps there's an issue, you know, with, you know, Black men and police,
right?
Or, and, you know, and just different types of relationships that exist in America, looking at them through this lens of racism and how racism has impacted the creation of laws at hospitals, simple things like tests, you know, that are designed to measure aptitude. And so the question is, can kids really understand that? You know, a lot of folks will say, well, if a Black child can experience racism, then a white child
can learn about it,
be able to learn about it. And so, you know, in the space between those two things, I feel like it's tit for tat. I don't think it's necessary.
So it's not teaching them about why Black men are being shot and killed, right? You're teaching them that they are shot and killed at a higher rate than anybody. When you look at like percentages and stuff, and when you're comparing things based on what the population or the numbers are, basically, like the ratio is a lot higher compared to any other race, right? And then you also are looking at, okay, Black people being pulled over by the police officers. Most of the time, Black people are pulled over the police officers for reasons that are not substantial. Other races are pulled over for reasons that are substantial. So that's a thing. So you're not necessarily trying to get them to understand what it is, but you're teaching them that this is a thing. You're teaching them that America brought Africans over here, enslaved them, and then treated them basically worse than animals. You teach them that. We don't need to know the psychology behind it as to why. That's what we're talking about. So not even going into why there are more Black men in the jail systems. No, we're not. We're not talking about that right now. We're simply talking about, if we're learning U.S. history, people being enslaved should be taught as a wrong that America did, and not necessarily as something, well, we're not trying to teach these kids how to fix it in the classroom. It's America did this wrong. This is how we're going to move about it, or not even how we're going to move about it. This is what we're learning today. The same way they've been teaching about the Holocaust. The same way I understand completely. I have compassion for the Jews. I understand that. We know that Hitler was wrong and people that were following Hitler was wrong. We even sometimes have compassion for those that were manipulated by Hitler. But I think, like I said to you, we don't have that understanding of what we have of Hitler for the founding fathers of America, because you still have people, like I said, you want me to pledge allegiance to the American flag in the morning, and then when it comes time to learn about history, you don't want me you want me to believe that these people were good, or you don't want to teach me that the people that created the Pledge of Allegiance were negative. So that becomes a problem, you know, like in the classroom in real time. So I think there's a real problem with America and the education system, and being able to come to grips with the fact that y'all love this country, but this country wasn't founded on values that we should be moving by.
Point taken. I think in that space, so there are first Holocaust denialists, and the Holocaust didn't happen in America.
True, but when you're okay, U.S. history, right? I think I went over like the grades and stuff. You learn about U.S. history in like 5th or 6th grade. You learn about it in 11th grade, right? But then you learn about the Holocaust, which is world history, in 10th grade. So if you're able to teach me about that in 10th grade, you should be able to teach me about this Holocaust or whatever for Black people in 11th grade.
Which I can perhaps with more discussion agree with. But I think what has happened is, election cycles are being turned and manipulated based on, a candidate saying, well, I will, prevent them from teaching critical race theory to your children. It's an issue that's beyond whether or not I should say it is, the issue is whether it should be taught or not, but it's almost become another type of, movement.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what the reverse of Black Lives Matters is, but when you have,
is it all lives matter? I
guess, right? If you have parents going into school board meetings saying, I'm going to take my kid out of this school,
right,
if you teach them this,
yeah,
because like with the topic of the show, whether or not we tell folks about slavery, I don't think you can keep from telling people about slavery.
For sure,
it perpetuating slavery. The education about slavery through the lens of, and this is why you are handicapped, I think is a problem. And also teaching people of color that white people are oppressors, irrespective of what your own personal feeling may be about that. And, I think that is where critical race theory is breaking apart, from what is palatable for most parents, because it's like, I'm not going to allow my white child to go to this school and be taught that they're an oppressor, because my little child has never done anything to oppress anyone. So when I'm sitting in the classroom, as a 9-10-year-old, and I'm being taught that, white people oppressed Black people, and is that the education that we think will be most beneficial for American children?
So my thing is, I think I used this example yesterday. So the Harriet Tubman movie came out. Cynthia, who was the main character, goes, oh, you can't. Oh, we wanted to make the movie appropriate for 12-year-olds. My thing was, you don't go and tell the story in a more appropriate way. You go and speak to the people who did wrong in the story and ask for them to not continue in that wrongdoing. But we don't change the way that we tell the story. The story is the story. So my thing is, when you have the kids that are coming in learning, and you're like, well, I don't want my kids to think that they're oppressor. Well, you as a parent need to go and create that deciphering between them. You as a parent need to go and say, this is something that your ancestors did. This doesn't necessarily this is not necessarily you, but then this is how you can be different. The problem is these white people are not shaming their grandparents. So that's why it's like, well, I don't want them to go and learn about what these people did, because if you were able to create a separation between Thomas Jefferson and yourself, he was a slave owner. You guys are both white. He was a slave owner. You are not. There's a difference there. So now I can teach that to my child. But if you aren't willing to separate from Thomas Jefferson, if you're willing to still hold him as this high ranking white man, this great man, then of course your child is going to be confused. Well, they're telling us that slavery is wrong, but when I go home, we got this American flag, this Confederate flag, and then we're also told to reverence these white slave owners. So it's going to confuse the child, but I don't think it's only on the schools. I think you also have to challenge these parents and say, well, you have to do the work back at home and let them know that, no, it's not them, but we're not going to keep acting like the founding fathers of this country were completely good. And that's okay, because we're told as Black people, we're told all the time that we have wrong doers as Black people. We got gangbangers and thugs and all of this. So we can understand it, but white people can't understand it. I think they were much worse than thugs, right? Being slave owners. But it's like, if we can understand that somebody on the block I can teach my Black child that you look like him, but you're not like him. Even if you have siblings, right? One is doing X, Y, and Z, and the other one is maybe on a positive path. You look like him, you come from the same environment as him, but you're not like him. So we can do that, but you can't teach a child that they were wrong. Like,
I think it is obviously complex. Now, the issue of, whether we teach it in a classroom and teaching it to children, and whether or not it is handicapping them in some sort of way.
Right.
I think the other aspect that you have to consider is who is going to do this education in the classroom. Teachers are underpaid.
True.
Okay. And they already have a lot of responsibilities. This is borderline raising your child, which teachers do a lot of.
Teaching in general, or teaching critical race theory?
Critical race theory, because now it's about me dealing with the child, American history, their family history, lots of things that in the education, in the classroom, you just don't have time for it. For example, if we in urban school districts, i.e. Compton Unified School District, if we can, if they can focus on just educating the students in reading and math and science, that would be so much more beneficial than them developing an effective critical race theory program, because the district, and other urban districts have challenges just doing the basics, whether that's because, they have a lot of different types of students, whatever the student makeup may be, that's contributing to that, right? But in areas where critical race theory, would even be beneficial, we could make the argument that the real focus in those areas should be math and science and reading. But if we set that aside and say, okay, well, this is really for people who don't get it, then we're talking about educating suburban kids about critical race theory. And again, I just would have to ask, is that the education that is most important? We were talking yesterday, and we live in capitalistic America where the goal is to make money.
Yeah.
We are sitting in a radio station and it has an owner, and ownership is a part of the American franchise. You vote on land, this idea that you can prosper.
Yeah.
That is not promised to you, and it's definitely not. I mean, how well you understand critical race theory doesn't make you more successful in America.
So then let's not teach history at all.
Well, I think you have to teach history because history as a subject is important. The question is how important, and if we want to...
Is our history?
How important is teaching critical race theory? How important is teaching through the lens of, now America is racist. So when you see these things happening, think about racism first.
Well, why does it have to be? To me, it's simple, right? It doesn't have to be through a lens, because that is what it is. What else would you call a white man who had slaves?
A capitalist.
No, he's racist.
No, at that time.
But okay, but at some point in time, so
at that point, he would have been called a capitalist.
Right, but then are we so fixated on making money that we can't call a wrong a wrong?
Sometimes, yes.
But that's white America. We're not like that. No, which is white.
But we had this discussion. The American dream, hello, look at us.
Right.
Does not belong to white people.
It don't?
No. The American dream belongs to people, unfortunately, who get outside of this and just work hard.
But we are, as Black people, we aren't people that as a whole lack morality. So we are not, because we're not. So look, let's look at what white people did, right? White people went.
All white people.
Not all. No, we're not gonna do that. Okay. Not all, right? There's some great white people out there. Now.
Hey, white folks out there, if you're great, you know.
Right. I mean, they're genuine, right? And I won't even say that they try not to be racist. They're just good people, right? They're good, right? So you have white people who went to Africa, stole people. We can get into what that interaction was, but they brought people here and enslaved them. So we can say, oh, it's a capitalist mindset, which it is, but I feel like capitalism was basically built up on get it by any means necessary.
That's today.
But that's not, but there are some hangups with that, because I can't go and say I got new Black history makers. I'm about to go get some little white kids over there that are poor, that are living in what are they called? Trailers?
Go to the border to Maquiladora.
Because capitalism promotes racism. You can use the minorities to build your business, but as a white person, right? But let a Black person go and get a whole bunch of little white kids that are poor, and they sit over here creating
poor white kids that's gonna work
from the trailer park.
No, what you can do is I'm not gonna speak to ethnicity, but you can get labor in other countries. Apple makes most of it
as a white, but okay, so if as a Black person, it's not, capitalism is not something that was created for us. Now there are Black people that benefit from it, but as a whole, it's not something that was created for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I feel like as an owner of a brand,
I'm benefiting off of capitalism.
The opposite of what you're saying.
Okay, so explain that to me. How am I a capitalist?
Sell a product.
I do. So
you're a capitalist.
Am I?
You sell your product,
right? But I didn't go steal the Europeans from Europe and get them to push my brand.
Do you sell your product for what you pay for it?
No.
So you're a capitalist.
But that's not okay. So we're talking about by any means necessary. I'm not doing anything that's morally improper.
Profit.
But no, but okay, how you're getting to a certain profit matters as well. I'm not doing anything that's morally improper to get my money. White people have. Not all. I gotta keep saying that.
Can we go on a break? Can we do a commercial?
Is there a break?
Can I just put my hand up and just go to commercial?
What are we gonna talk about on commercial?
We don't have a thing. Now it's time for commercial.
Oh.
Yes.
Catch you later. We'll be back in 5 minutes. I'm just kidding. We're still here.
Okay, so we're talking about the new Black History Makers line. Today's show.
Also a real commercial.
Today's show, folks, is brought to you.
I also have one. None of you guys can see it in the shirt on the live. Yeah. The capitalist brand.
The capitalist brand.
Yeah.
The new Black History Makers, which you can see in person this weekend. You can see it in person.
Yes, tomorrow I will be. Shout out to Pop-Up Kitchen, my boy. Trey he had a food truck and now he has got his restaurant. So yes, a Black man.
A capitalist.
A capitalist Black man has a restaurant.
What's it called?
It's called Pop-Up Kitchen.
It's a pop-up kitchen
on Melrose.
So you on Melrose.
Yes.
So you can go
with the other whites, with the other capitalists.
Overpriced new Black History Makers.
New Black History Makers is not overpriced.
See how she brought that back though. See how she brought it. She was like, "It's not overpriced."
Is it?
No, I don't know if it's overpriced or not, folks. Okay, because I get all my stuff from her for free.
That's what white people do.
Yeah, hey, I'm white then. But if
next week we will have a new host.
So if you would like to
come see us, come and see on Melrose. The flyer is on New Black History Makers on Instagram tomorrow and Sunday.
I'm not coming both days, so
okay,
I'm gonna come tomorrow.
All right.
So if you want to see me,
when are you gonna be there?
I'm coming tomorrow.
Okay, so he'll be there tomorrow. Yeah. This is Martin Luther King weekend, right? Is it?
It is.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Shout out to him. Okay.
Yeah, and us living out our dreams. So that's what it is. It's us living out our dreams, not us being capitalists.
So, okay, we're back to the show.
Yeah.
So I just want to welcome you all back.
Welcome back
second half
to New
of-
Black History Makers. This is our first
This
episode.
is our first episode.
And we're live at the good news.
We are live at the good news.
Yes.
And I just want to tell you that the good news has been a great experience. So
It
far.
has.
Yes. Keith is awesome.
Keith is awesome.
If you haven't met him,
yeah,
you should come down.
He yells at us behind closed doors.
Get your dose of motivation today.
Right. But it makes you better. It makes you a better capitalist.
Yeah. So as we break into the second half of this, I just wanted to let you know already.
Me or the viewers?
Yeah, well, you and the listeners and viewers.
Okay.
This topic is very important to, and we should keep this discussion going. In the future, hopefully, we'll have some folks back to kind of help us break through this some more about the critical race theory and give folks more information. But if you are looking to learn more about it, there are tons of websites that talk about critical race theory and how it's being implemented in schools across America.
Right.
One thing I want to say about it is that it was initially a college course.
Okay. And
so that's important because perhaps at the level of college, you are able to process.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So, that's the thing, right? Like, and I brought that up because we were talking about kids.
Yeah.
But even college students, right,
are having trouble.
Because if your experience is different than this,
right,
and you walk into a classroom where they're saying, hey, the reason there aren't as many Black students here is because there's racism in America, that could blow your mind.
And what I said yesterday was, to me, that's a lack of intellect.
It's exposure. There's some, you are not exposed to everything. I mean, that's exactly what critical race theory is doing.
But if you are living in this world, and I get it, right? Like, even me, I was sheltered. I was very sheltered. But if you're living in this world and you do not understand that things are different, at least at the bare minimum, we have a problem with intellect. If you can't just see that things are, if you're choosing to ignore it, that's okay. We're not going to challenge your intellect. But if you are not able to see that things are different, especially as a college student, you're supposed to be able, you're supposed to be able to see different things. And maybe as a Black person, because we've been through so much, we have this lens that we're able to see when anyone else is going through stuff and understand that. But if your child is 20 something years old or 18 something years old and they're in college and they're like, I did not know that this was a thing, I blame the parents. The same way we like to blame Black parents when Black kids be tripping or doing whatever, I blame the parents because you didn't do a good job raising your child to be more aware, to be aware about what was going on in the world. So white parents have to do better.
Okay, so white parents, just in case you
wait, the buffer.
To translate that for you, there's still some things that Jasmine would like for you to work through with your children, just globally. So
not globally. Yeah, like if you were raised over there in Westwood, you should be teaching your kids about what's going on in the world. And also with my parents, right? I grew up sheltered. I didn't really learn about what was really going on until I was like 18.
Did you? Okay. We're talking about Black experience. Okay.
Yes.
Was there ever time? This happened to me a lot of times.
Okay.
You're in the store because I have younger brothers and sisters. So, you be with your mom.
Yeah.
And someone who is not Black will come up to your parent and say, oh, your kids are so well behaved. And then your mom is like, oh, thank you. And then when the person leaves, she's like, what, how are y'all supposed to act? I don't know why she would come up here. Okay. That's a part of the Black experience.
Yeah.
Right. We almost know when I was a child, when that happened, I knew my mom wasn't feeling it, but she just kind of played along with it. Because, it's the scene from Color Purple when she's like, do you want to come work for me? Right.
Yeah.
That is something we don't need white people to understand.
Okay.
I don't care.
Wait. So it's deeper than that. We don't need white people to understand.
Get it.
No, but this is what they need to understand. Black kids are well behaved too. We're not all bad.
But
because these white kids
But the
I'm
experience
trying
is-
not to go there, but these white kids be tripping too.
But the experience is, I have no clue that this experience is part of
Maybe
you.
if you turn it to your face.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Woo.
There you go. Now you can hear me. This is a little concerning though, because it's just right in my face like that. But all right.
Or you could do like a thing. I don't know.
The thing is, you as a parent in that situation, you know that your children are well behaved.
As a Black parent.
Okay. And so the other person, the other parent that is coming up to you, they don't know that you don't want to hear that. Now, why wouldn't they know that?
Why would they not know that you don't want to hear that?
Why would they not know?
Because it goes, it's before that. What made the white person come up to me or even look my way and say, wow, those Black children are well behaved? Because before they even showed up, there was a thought that Black children don't act right. And that's the problem. That's what I'm saying to address.
And so that is critical race theory. The idea that before something even happens, there's a preset, I mean, it's bias, it's implicit bias as well. But before anything even happens, there's this idea that this exists. But we've been living in this I'm gonna call it this, and I don't want you to jump out your seat, but we've been living in this post-racism, racial environment. And I think
meaning it's after racism?
It's after formal structure. Okay, just let it go for a minute.
No, I'm listening.
Let it go.
I'm listening.
We are in 2022.
Yes.
And we still have groups of people who will come up to you in a store and say, your children are well behaved.
Right.
That's an issue that's beyond what we could fix.
Because it's not our problem, it's their problem.
Yeah, and so what we're saying is, why what does that even have to do with racism?
Because that same mindset is the mindset of the mother whose son is going out there shooting Black boys, the Tamir Rices, for no reason. That weird mindset of Black people are like this, and these negative just concepts that they have about Black people is the mother or the wife to the man that murdered George Floyd or Jacob Blake. So that's why for me it's like you have to nip those things in the bud, because it's all linked in together. These white women are sitting here going home and coddling these white men that are shooting and killing us, because and it's the same white woman that walked up to your mother and said your children are well behaved, because you have this thought that Black people are not supposed to be behaved. So this white child grows up to be this police officer and goes, Black people aren't behaved, so he does one thing, I'm shooting and killing him. So my thing is, and I've often said it, white people, this issue of racism is not a Black issue. It's not something that we as Black people need to do or fix. It's something that, comments. It's something that they need to fix themselves. Now I'm gonna say this. I believe that we all have places in this battle or in this fight, right? We all have like our roles. I'm not one that's sitting in the front talking to white people. I don't do that. Now there are some Black people that do that and they do it well and they interact with white people. I don't. But for me, racism is a problem that they need to fix. I'm not pleading to no white people to stop being racist.
The only thing, and this is where we kind of left it yesterday, and I'm encouraging folks, you need to talk about this. I just want to make sure that the mindset that we take and the approach to this is also beneficial economically. You brought up, the Holocaust and Jewish people. Jewish people are economically self-sufficient in America. And so in a lot of ways, you can care about the Holocaust or not. It's not affecting their pockets, right?
True.
And so I just would like to see us move to that space, which is, kind of where.
But who's giving them money?
I don't know that they look to wait to be given money, but I'm just
because they know that it's coming.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that as a collective, as a group of people, if you want to talk about a model for how to not care whether or not people acknowledge your suffering and still be economically successful in an American capitalistic society, Jewish people are a good model.
Right.
Also,
looking at that back from then.
Let me just also speak a little bit to our Asian community, who has also been very successful.
Have they? Oh, yeah. I mean, not like that Asian people, but
I mean, come on now. I mean,
they've been very successful in terms of what.
We're not bringing out scholarly article, peer review, but we just going off of our interactions, our friends. You know, most of my friends who are Asian, they have strong family ties. You know, they weren't put out the house at 18, which is popular for us. Yeah, and that creates economic instability early on. You know, there are just some things that, you know, Willie Lynch still has us doing that some other groups didn't suffer with. Now, when you teach critical race theory, do you teach also, hey, little black kid, you know you're doing that because Willie Lynch, right? Or do you just let them go and do the stuff that they do and then tell other people, well, you know, you're an oppressor? I mean, there are still things happening in the black community that are a result of us not educating ourselves enough about slavery, right?
Like, I mean,
what? You can't, the Willie Lynch letter and how it is still in play today. I mean, look at Black families, and the science of how you break down a community of people is still very much in effect in our community. Right. And so if we rely on the classroom, which I don't think you would advocate for.
Wait, what do you mean?
Rely on the classroom to teach us how to come out of that.
How to come out of the family unit? Or the breakdown of the family unit?
Yeah, how to come out of systematic, you know, mind control. I don't think the classroom is going to do that, right? So, you know, we parents, just like the white parents don't need to walk up to us and say, the black parents also need to say, hey, perhaps we need to put a little bit more focus on, you know, you need to have a family.
Right.
Yeah, no, you know, be more responsible than just, you know.
So for sure.
So there are things that, you know, when we talk about making other people acknowledge that, I'm not sure, you know, perhaps they don't respect it yet because they still
respect our positioning.
Perhaps because there's still a lot of things that we're dealing with that if we were serious about changing, you know.
Okay, so when we talk about other races, I think we have to talk about the origin of Black people here in America. So one, when I travel and I see other Black people that are familiar of their origin, like the Asians are, like the Hispanics are, I guess white people are, they're familiar. Well, they have to be. Nobody took them from nowhere. So they they are familiar with where you come from. That makes you walk different. So when I see someone or I'm experiencing Black people in Africa, right, that are living on the soil that they're true to, or even immigrants that are here that are aware of where they come from. They walk differently. They just deal with themselves differently. So I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I'm going to say we can't keep comparing ourselves to these other races when even like, okay, when I was coaching and stuff, we would play at these Jewish schools. The Jewish schools were like state of the art. Beautiful schools. They're coming in. They have this language that they speak. Everyone, you know, you got them. The yarmulkes, is that what it's called? The things on their head.
I'm just gonna refrain.
Okay, I should have refrained too. But they're wearing it's not a garb, but they're hats that are true to their culture. And you see these parents that are coming in, right? And they know that they all fit into this culture. Now these kids are behaving differently from what you see Black kids behaving, because we only know grandma probably moved from Louisiana. If we know that, if we know our parents, or we know they moved from Mississippi, and that's as far back as it goes. So you're literally walking around with this absence of a space that you don't, or void that you don't even know is there. But when you compare it to the other races, and even if we move away from the other races, but other Black people who are aware, they move differently. And I think we have to consider that when we're comparing Blacks to the Jews or Blacks to the Asians. Yeah, you just walk different. Even if you have two parents, you walk different. because you know where you come from. You know where the things that have made you who you are, you know where that's coming from. So I think we have to consider those things in our experience. And no, not to use it as an excuse, because a lot of us have overcome that. Even though I have no idea where my origin is or where anybody was before my grandparents, I still am able to be successful, but it's still something different from, even like the Pacific Islanders, the Samoans. Like, you go to their parties and the culture that they have and what they're able to tap back into, them going back into Samoa to spend time with their great grandparents and grandparents. That's beautiful, and it gives you a certain confidence about yourself. You're able to move through the world differently. So I just think that's a huge part. No, it's not an excuse, but we have to like throw that into the equation.
Okay. I mean, I'm willing to accept that. I think this is a topic that you definitely can't solve in one sitting.
You can't.
What I will say is we are, for better or worse, Americans.
Are we?
Yes.
When I'm traveling, I'm American. When I'm here, I'm Black.
We got to get to the mailbag and a couple of other things.
What mailbag?
We're going to ask a question about our next show. And so people are going to send us some comments. But one of the things that I wanted to say was we are genuinely, us Black folk, Americans. I mean, we are Americans.
When I'm traveling, when I'm here, I'm Black.
Yeah. And in America, I don't know who is more American than Black people.
No.
Because
what?
when you consider what America represents, which is a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of struggle.
I would rather say we built it. Basically, we built America, and they don't get credit for us.
Identify with something that's
racist.
Is America?
That's racist.
And so but you live in America now.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it is what it is.
When I'm traveling, I can say that I'm American. When I'm here, it's just that I'm Black.
You are Black, and even Black, even though you would say, I'm sure you're going to debate me on this, but you calling yourself Black is an American construct.
That's fine.
Well, it can't be fine.
It is.
No, it can't be, because then that's critical race theory. That you are a Black person in America is a lens. Now, why is our show? We should have an hour and a half long show.
I mean, we have till 4:30. We have till 5.
Yeah, we have till 5 though, but okay. We're gonna sit till 5 and
we don't have to sit till 5. We don't have a dead.
Yeah, we got a spot. So we want to make sure that
our spot is 3 to 5. Okay.
So critical race theory.
Critical race theory is understanding that Black is an American made-up ideology. So this is what I am going to say. There is no other term. Any term that I call myself is going to be made in America. No, you know why?
That's not true.
I don't have anything else to call myself.
That is not we can skip it, but that's not a true
Wait, skip what?
That anything you could call yourself would be American.
What else could I call myself? African?
Some title that is derived from an African language. That's what Malcolm X, that's what people did who didn't want to be associated with this American.
But I don't have. So if I called myself
Jasmine X, that's your new name for the show. So going forward,
no,
Jasmine Gates will now be known.
But I'm just saying, me calling myself Black because I'm deciding not to identify with America is like, okay, I'm gonna identify that as that's an American problem as well, because they took us from what I could call myself.
America don't have. It's almost like saying you can't have a problem with America. America is not
the founding fathers. And those that uphold them, and those that are still upholding their beliefs, so they're alive.
That's like QAnon. That was a little mysterious.
Wait, what's QAnon?
Oh, we definitely got to talk about QAnon. You don't know about QAnon?
I feel like
that's like the whole thing about the guy who drops the secret data or code things during Trump's camp, or when he was in office as president, he would like leak.
Oh, you're saying QAnon is still upholding the beliefs of the founding fathers?
Well, I'm saying people that would also subscribe that QAnon was a real thing.
These regular white people are still upholding the founding fathers.
You sound a little QAnon.
Me?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Why?
Because
Why am I whispering?
I don't know. We just got really quiet. Like we
Okay, so I'm like the guy that drops.
Yeah, you're a little. This is you're bleeding a little bit into the conspiracy world of America.
What?
Well, because
What conspiracy?
the founding fathers.
Are they not the wait? Do we not identify them as the founding fathers anymore?
How long? I mean,
Are they not them? How else do I
they're
identify
like,
them?
They're like good and dead. Good and dead.
No, but the people that are upholding what it is that they
And that's
believe
an abstract
in.
Group.
There's no white people that still believe that black people should be enslaved.
That was a big jump. You went from just
okay.
Us talking about.
There's no white people that still believe that black people are inferior to them.
Let me pose this to you. Do you believe that there are some people who are inferior to others?
Based on work ethic, not the color of your skin.
Okay. So you have a bias against people based
and not
on how
necessarily inferior, but in a world, right? But like, so I'll say no. So in the workspace, because I do work hard, there is going to be some type of classism, right? But on a chill mode, like when I'm not working in that space, oh, everybody is cool as long as you're not racist, you know? Like everybody is cool. It's not, I don't think that anyone's below me. That's not, how I move. But yeah, I think there still are white people who think they're because there's a difference between you.
But do you care? Does it affect your pocket?
Does it affect my pocket that white people are racist?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm getting clarifying. I'm trying to clarify
that a white person could be racist. That is there a chance that there could be one more racist white person? And my question to you is, it doesn't matter. All right.
So it doesn't matter in my world.
It doesn't matter.
But there are people who work in corporate America.
Yeah, and
there are people
deal
who
with structuralized racism and have done so as long as there has been corporate America.
Because I'm not in corporate America, should I not talk about it?
Well, I mean, you could talk about it,
Schools.
But I'm saying from the perspective of it being this huge issue that people have to manage, yeah, that's a part of work.
And even in schools. So you look, LAUSD, right, is supposed to be one solid district that is giving an educational experience to our kids across the board is supposed to be good, right? But you go into the hood, you see what's there. You go over there by the water, still LAUSD, you see something different there. So that's also a problem that I believe stems from racism.
Yeah, I mean, school funding has long been debated in California because more affluent neighborhoods have more property taxes and more ability to bond.
Redlining, though, also created this.
Right. Now, the truth, though, is Southern California is that type of community.
What do you mean?
Where you could have an affluent experience 10 and then a poverty 10 miles apart.
Of course, one block.
Yeah. So that is the state at which we find ourselves. We would have to talk about housing policy and lots of other things to fix that, because that has to do with school funding.
No, for sure. But I think at the root of that, if you go back, a lot of that is racism that created these issues. It wasn't us.
Yeah. And so we agree. It's just, I don't know
what teaching about it is going to do. Well, my thought, like we said, was you have to teach about the history that is a part of history. If you don't teach about it, then what do you replace it with? Or do you just not say anything? That would be my kind of like thought to it. But
you teach.
No, I'm saying, what do you teach in place of?
In place of what?
In place of slavery.
Yeah, what do you teach in place of slavery?
I'm asking you. I want them to teach slavery.
No, I said, what do you teach in place of slavery? There's tons of things to teach. Math. Well, I went over that earlier.
So don't teach history.
Don't prioritize teaching my child that they were enslaved over the things they need to be successful in today's America.
Okay. So this has to be a continued conversation.
Yeah, and I think this is the perfect time for all of our listeners that would like to send us some comments and have an opinion about this. If you agree with Jasmine, do not message us.
Wait.
Okay.
What?
You heard me, folks. If you agree with Jasmine, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But you can go to our Instagram account, the New Black History Makers.
Yeah.
There you'll see lots of information, but you can message us there and you can get in on the conversation. So our topic today, though, was definitely...
It was a weighty one.
Yeah, I mean, this idea of whether we would teach kids anything new if they aren't getting...
What are you laughing at?
I mean, the idea that we would teach them something more complex than math.
If we ain't going to teach them about slavery, stop teaching them about history. I don't want to learn about the Americans.
I'm almost down for not teaching history. If I can have a child that is strong in math and science.
That's a thought.
Because what is history getting you?
It's getting people confused on what America did to Black people. That's what it's getting you.
So, folks, yes, if you have opinions, thoughts, feel free to
tap in with us.
Yeah. Next week, we are going to be talking about something that's very dear to my heart.
Wait, do you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've written out the shows for 3 months.
No. I thought you were like stalling.
So we're talking about, and this is very different from today's topic, but we're going to be talking about the sleeping habits of successful people. Now, the reason we're going to be talking about this is because Jasmine does not sleep enough.
Wait, is that why?
Yeah. I think you told me you get like 6 hours of sleep.
Not 4. I don't get 4 hours of sleep.
And so the question is,
maybe that was your other show.
No, it was us. We were talking about, that's how this topic came up.
So 4 hours would mean I sleep from 12 to 4. I'm not up at 4 in the morning.
I don't know what time you go to bed. I can't assume you go to bed at midnight every night, but
I don't know. We had this conversation because Steve Harvey be posting something about rich people don't sleep.
Yeah. Well,
and that's toxic.
We're going to talk about that.
You need some rest.
Of how much rest you need to
That's
get.
why we're talking about it. I don't sleep 4 hours.
And then,
I may not get enough rest, but I get more than 4. How many hours do you get?
I tend to get, so I sleep in, I'll sleep for a couple hours, then I'll wake up, then go back to sleep. So it is broken up, but I usually get about 7 hours.
Okay, that's like what a treasurer should be getting.
Yeah, I think so. Keep my eyes on. And then that's the 21st. And then on the 28th,
we have a guest.
We have a special guest coming into the studio.
Should we wait to tell them?
Yeah, we're going to wait because I don't want you guys to get too excited. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't do enough sound effects today.
You want to do it again? Go ahead.
No, let's do it.
I wasn't. Okay.
Was it not long enough?
But we do have an exciting guest coming in for the last show. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but this is gonna be us. This is gonna be us every Friday at 3:30 p.m. talking about topics that may matter to you, but topics that are definitely affecting you. I think most people have children.
Yeah. And most people's children, need some kind of education.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I think that Black people need to do a better job of explaining who we are as Black people to their children. So if the school is teaching them about slavery, you need to go in and teach them about, well, how did they overcome that? Because I think that's an important piece of slavery is that we overcame that, so teaching that and then also to look at the history and to see that regardless of your feelings on Barack Obama still got to the White House. And that's a thing that can be attributed to who we are as Black people, so that should be taught. Now, as it concerns white people, right? We have to do our work the same way they have to do their work. Where are they going to get their work from? That's on them, at least as it relates to me. But, I think they have to do their job and decide if they're going to side with I won't say the founding fathers, but the Thomas Jeffersons and the Abraham Lincolns of the world. Or if they're going to go and say, well, they were wrong. We know that those were our grandfathers, our great-great-grandfathers or whatever, but they were wrong. And now we're going to try and move in a more healthy way so that my white children can exist healthily in a world with other black children and not have to take a course, but just already understand and be understanding of different experiences, whether they're Indian, Asian, whether they grew up on a farm, grew up by the beach, just be understanding of the experiences.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, in an ideal world, parents would, educate their children to be sensitive to other people.
Like not Barack Obama, like Martin Luther King said, don't judge people by their color, but by the contents of their character.
Right. And then when you meet a whole bunch of people with bad character,
then you judge them. But yeah, so how you feel? First show under wrap.
I feel good about the first show.
Yeah,
I'm happy that we had a good provocative topic to talk about.
Was it provocative?
I think so.
Oh, you like to use that word though.
Yeah, because it makes people feel like we did something sexy. But yeah, I think it was a good first show. I don't know.
Yeah.
What you think, Keith? It was great. Keith is here with us. So
Keith is here
watching us.
The Podfather. But yeah, so this will be us just bringing you different topics that you may not be talking about, right? That you may see on Instagram and might swipe by, or not. You might overlook it, but we want to bring them to you and let you know how they affect you in real time. But yeah, nothing's gonna be smooth over here. Everything's gonna be pretty controversial.
Yeah. So I think we are going to start a tradition of leaving folks with something nice and positive that they didn't know about.
Go ahead.
You sure you know? I think you know what it is. What is it? It's.
Oh no.
Okay, I need you to get your soundboard together because.
And now, Brandon Mims with the positive drip for the week.
So I just want to let everyone know that I was scrolling through Instagram, came across this article that I then researched even further that talked about the number of two-parent Black families being on the rise. On the rise.
Shout out to Black
families.
Okay, I'm so proud of that.
That is, I was just scrolling and my thumb couldn't leave that post because I just thought it was super positive. Beautiful. So the keywords there for you guys that want to search that, it's just the article was talking about, I think it said up like 70%. But I think you need to check that number.
I think it's up to 70%.
Up to 70%. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can Google that, but Black families, marriage,
two parents in the home. It's risen to 70%, and it hasn't been that high in the past 30 years.
Yeah. So definitely check that out because we want to know if that is true.
We want to know. So everybody send us if you are raising your children in a two-parent household, and we'll do the math ourselves.
Right. We want to know if that is true.
Yeah.
All right. So feel free to hit us.
But even if it's,
does that count?
So I'm watching. I'm not watching it now, but I was watching Real Housewives of Potomac. There's a couple on there. They were married. They're divorced, but they still live together. Sleep in the same bed all day. So that they're doing it for the children. And then I know of someone that they're not together, but they live in the same house for the sake of the children. So I'm like, maybe those kind of weird situations.
Relationship in the 50s and the 60s.
Was it? Yeah. I wouldn't know.
I mean, I'm just saying, people stay together. That's where you
stay together. Hopefully, it's a healthier thing. But yeah,
I'm just happy they're staying together.
Yeah, for the sake of the babies.
If it's a toxic environment, we'll deal with that next show.
Yeah. But yeah, that was that. Shout out to the Good News Network for letting us get on here and talk our little
just totally cluttering up the waves for an hour, right?
Right. On your way. Do y'all work? That's gonna be the next question.
I'm thinking right now we are on for the soccer moms and dads who are picking their kids up.
Yeah.
So we need the next
rattle your brain a little bit.
Maybe we need to bring in some topics, like the best minivan.
Yeah, we can end off with that.
The best I'm gonna bring back the best minivan next week.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll be back next week, next Friday. Tell your friends, everybody, download the app. Yes. And then follow us. Follow Brandon Mims. He's a treasurer of the city of Compton.
Yes, but don't follow me expecting to see things related to.
Right. Brandon is Brandon is Brandon.
Yeah, If you want to see the city treasurer, come to the council meeting, folks.
Yeah. Yes. And then New Black History Makers, follow us there. Tap in with us. Let us know how you felt about the show. But we're excited to be in your ears for the next part of your life, however long that is.
2022, folks.
Yes, it's up in his stack.
Yeah, because that's how they contract us. So if they let us go, it'll be in 2023. So.
Yeah, but that's it. New Black History Makers is here, and we're here to stay. But
it's up and it's stuck.
It's up and it's there. How do you exit out of a show? Okay. All right, that's it. Applause.
Black marriages, black families, folks. Google that.
Catch you later.